a Jamaican military operation in 2010. 76 civilians reported dead.
Residents of downtown were shaken with fear as the security forces made their way into sections of Tivoli Gardens and Denhamtown today.
These were the armed forces on the waterfront in downtown Kingston at about 1 p.m. in position in full gear as helicopters buzzed ahead and the Coast Guard patrolled the waters.
This bloody Labour Day in Kingston. We begin with news that the security forces have launched a massive offensive in Tivoli Gardens, West Kingston today.
Mass graves uncovered in Kingston's public cemetery.
The title of this video refers to the re-establishment of state authority in West Kingston and the Tivoli Gardens by the Jamaican security forces in May 2010 as an incursion. According to the public defender, this is how it was popularly known, although he thought it could be more accurately be described as a siege.
They're under orders to do what the they did.
Jamaica is an island nation in the Caribbean Sea, south of Cuba and west of the island of Hispaniola. Hispaniola is the landmass divided between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Jamaica was claimed for Spain by Christoper Columbus in 1494 and then taken by the English in 1655. It achieved independence in 1962 but remains in the British Commonwealth. It is a parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy with a Governor-General representing the Queen. Its population in 2010 when these events occurred was 2.6 million, 90% of whom claim mainly African descent.
Dozens of deaths at the hands of the security forces, all because of one man.
Even though major crimes are on the decline in Jamaica, the country still has a high homicide rate of 43.85 per 100,000 inhabitants. This means that Jamaica had about 1,393 reported murders in 2023, based on its estimated population of 3.18 million. This shows a 7.8% decline from 2022, when Jamaica had 1,511 murders. And with data available from 2012, Jamaica had the sixth highest homicide rate at 39.3 per 100,000 population that year. In 2006, with 1,674 homicides, the rate was 58 per 100,000, and possibly, in that year, the world's highest. The death penalty was reaffirmed by Parliament in 2008, although it is not used. Civil disturbance of a degree has been a feature of Jamaican history. In 1865, slavery having been abolished in 1835, there was a protest march by the impoverished black population that was ruthlessly put down by the colonial governor, Edward John Hare. The governor declared martial law and sent in troops. Several hundred of the population were subsequently killed as they were hunted down, arrested, and executed without recourse to what even then was regarded as proper process. A subsequent royal commission in England found that the governor acted with commendable promptitude but unnecessary rigor, words that resonated with the evaluation of the events in 2010. In 1938, there were labor riots and 15 deaths. In 2001, 27 civilians were killed in an event involving police in Tivoli Gardens, the same location as the current event.
A corporal was immediately shot and killed by gunmen whom we saw firing from the high-rise building in Tivoli.
There's a British-trained Jamaican Defence Force, the JDF, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF. Together, these are referred to as the security forces. Christoper Coke was regarded as the preeminent Don in Jamaica. His base was in Tivoli Gardens, in the electorate of the Prime Minister at the time. Tivoli Gardens had a population in 2010 of approximately 10,000, including, in the words of one witness to the subsequent Commission of Inquiry, a cadre of uneducated, unemployed, and unemployable young people. They depended on the patronage of Coke for their livelihood. His father before him had led a gang in Tivoli Gardens. Coke took the title President. He led the presidential clique, and his girlfriend was popularly known as the First Lady. His gang had reached into other parts of Kingston and Jamaica through a less cohesive transnational organized crime network called the Shower Posse, and had overseas affiliates in Tampa, Miami, Ohio, and the UK. His criminal enterprise involved drug trafficking, arms trafficking, robbery, extortion, and kidnapping. The Commissioner of Police at the time described Tivoli Gardens under Coke as a state within a state. It was also called the mother of all garrisons. It is a community created by large-scale housing developments allocated by the state to supporters of the party in power. These partisans then pushed out the minority from within and guarded against invasion from outside. Utility companies could not go into the community to collect outstanding money, effectively making utilities free in Tivoli Gardens. Coke himself collected payments for these services. For 30 years before, police testified at the Commission of Inquiry. The JCF was unable to undertake regular policing in Tivoli Gardens. No police station had been situated there for many years. This was a recognition of the danger to police involved in having a presence there. A commission of inquiry had been held into a bloody confrontation between the security forces and the residents of Tivoli in 2001, resulting in 27 deaths. How they met their deaths was never established. No one was held legally or administratively accountable. In 2001, the Commission concluded, and I quote, "There was abundant credible evidence from which it may be inferred that the twin issues of garrison communities and political tribalism cannot be eliminated as a feature of political and cultural life in Jamaica unless Tivoli Gardens is brought under the complete control of the JCF." End of quote. This was easier said than done because of the level of everyday violence. A component of Jamaica's high homicide rate is the frequency with which citizens die at the hands of the police. Police shot and killed 272 people in 2007, 224 people in 2008, and 263 people in 2009. In addition, 10, 19, and 12 police officers respectively died during the course of JCF operations in each of those years, almost all by gunshot wounds. Also, over this period, there were many other individual events of violence, including attacks on police stations, and when one of Coke's brothers was killed in 2005. On August 24, 2009, the heads of the security forces received information that the United States government was actively seeking Coke's extradition from Jamaica. They immediately informed the Prime Minister, Mr. Golding, the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party government at the time. Almost immediately, according to intelligence, Coke fled his luxury compound in regional Jamaica and went to his base in Tivoli Gardens. The government took 9 months to authorize his extradition, during which time public anxiety and unrest increased. The Prime Minister referred to legal and constitutional issues in the extradition request, leading to the considerable delay. The existence of these issues was subsequently confirmed by a special commission of inquiry convened in October 2010 to consider all the issues surrounding the request. As time passed, the US began refusing visas, amongst other actions, for members of the government wishing to travel to the US. Civil society groups became active. The opposition discovered a $400,000 payment to a US law firm to lobby in Washington against the extradition. When challenged with this, the Prime Minister responded that the money was paid by the Jamaica Labour Party, not by the government. This fact was also verified by the Special Commission of Inquiry, which was very critical of the payment, saying that it was inappropriate for the Prime Minister to arrange such a thing. Eventually, the Prime Minister apologized in Parliament. Then, without giving the security forces any advance notice, he announced the agreement of the extradition in a national address on public television on May 17, 2010. This was regarded by his opponents as effectively signaling the agreement to Coke, thus giving him time to disappear. The main Commission of Inquiry concluded that it was imprudent of the Prime Minister not to give the security forces notice of his intended announcement that Coke was to be arrested. They should not have learned this through the media. But the Commission made no formal adverse finding of the Prime Minister in this regard. He readily acknowledged merit in the point. The Commission was critical of the Commissioner of Police for not telling the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security that it was important that they had some advance notice of the government's intention to act. The security forces stated that they used the 9-month delay to plan the joint operation for Coke's arrest. Although it was referred to as a joint operation, each force developed its own plan. The Commission of Inquiry found that neither heads of the JDF and JCF knew of the other's plans, although other officers did. The basic tasks were for the JDF to secure the sectors and then invite JCF to enter and conduct searches and other tasks appropriate for the civil power. The Commission of Inquiry was highly critical of the quality of planning and its implementation. The Commission of Inquiry states, and I quote, "Coke used the period to amass a substantial armory and recruit a large number of mercenaries to protect him from arrest. Gunmen from Tivoli Gardens and approximately 300 gunmen from across Jamaica were mobilized with a view to prevent the arrest of Coke." The video evidence that they saw left no doubt in their minds that the special arming of criminal elements in Tivoli Gardens was no mere allegation. It was a fact of frightening proportions. The armory, which Coke established or to which he had access, was comprised of M16 and AK-47 rifles, handguns, grenades, at least one 50 caliber Grizzly sniper rifle, and a large quantity of ammunition. These rifles were no ordinary firearms. In the days leading up to the incursion, barricades were constructed within Tivoli Gardens. These were constructed of old vehicles, old appliances, heavy equipment, scrap metal, sandbags, and other solid materials. Several of the barricades had explosives embedded in them, with trigger mechanisms operable from inside residences. Sandbags were also used as firing positions. The Commission concluded that amongst Coke's men were some with military experience to help plan and build the barricades. In addition, the National Intelligence Bureau had photographs of men piling sandbags in bulletproof vests, wearing night vision goggles, and carrying rifles. On May 18, people were in the streets of the capital, Kingston, demonstrating in favor of Coke and paralyzing the city. On May 20, 600 women dressed in white held a demonstration with placards saying variously, "Leave Dodos alone," "Next to God is Dodos," and "We will die for Dodos." Matters came to a head on Sunday, May 23. Criminal elements launched a series of attacks against police stations in West Kingston and related areas. These attacks were of such intensity that the heads of the security forces sought and obtained an urgent meeting of the Cabinet of Jamaica. The deteriorating security situation was explained to the cabinet, which authorized the declaration of the state of emergency. The attacks resulted in 2 police stations being totally destroyed by fire, and a third being extensively damaged. A fourth was damaged by gunfire, and other assets, such as vehicles, were damaged. In the words of the Commission, resisting arrest and extradition had morphed into an open and violent assault against the state of Jamaica and its law enforcement agencies. The next day, May 24, 2010, the security forces moved into West Kingston.
The helicopters throwing grenades and
Approximately 800 soldiers of the JDF and 570 officers of the JCF were involved in the operation. The advance of the security forces was slowed, and in some instances halted by the ferocity of the resistance. Explosions, gunfire, and smoke could be heard and seen over the city. It took until around 4 p.m. on May 24 before the Tivoli Gardens was secured. It was clear that Coke had fled, if he was ever there at the beginning. By the next day, there were reports of hundreds dead. People phoned in to the radio station with reports of brutality, including throwing people off roofs. There was sporadic gunfire in other areas of West Kingston over the next few days. By the end of the week, 73 deaths were formally reported. The scale of the operation and its costs in blood and economic value were great and unprecedented in the history of the confrontations between the citizens and the security forces of Jamaica. 2 days after the launch of the operation, 69 civilians and 3 members of the security forces lay dead. The UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean estimated the total effect of the unrest on the economy of Jamaica at Jamaican $22.5 billion. That's US $258.8 million. Senior officers of the security forces readily described the operation as an event the like of which they had never before experienced in their many years of service. Equally, residents of West Kingston spoke of a frightening experience and being in a continuing state of fear and anxiety immediately before, during, and after the operation. However, Coke managed to escape the dragnet and remained at large for almost a month, until he was finally captured on June 23, 2010, by the police on the outskirts of Kingston. He was reportedly trying to surrender to the United States Embassy with the help of a local reverend, who was later charged with attempting to pervert the course of justice. Coke was extradited to the United States on June 24, 2010, where he pleaded guilty to racketeering and assault charges, and was sentenced to 23 years in prison in 2012. The West Kingston Tivoli Gardens incursion in 2010 marked a significant chapter in Jamaica's history, reflecting the complex interplay of politics, crime, and societal challenges. The operation aimed at apprehending Christoper Coke, the notorious crime lord, revealed the deep-rooted issues within Tivoli Gardens and the broader implications for the nation. The confrontations between the security forces and the criminal elements led to unprecedented levels of violence, causing a substantial economic impact and leaving lasting scars on the affected communities. Thank you for joining us in exploring the gripping events surrounding the West Kingston or Tivoli Gardens incursion. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, share it with others, and subscribe for more content on historical events and societal dynamics. Remember to leave your thoughts and comments below, and stay tuned for our next exploration into the complexities of the Jamaican history. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and thank you for watching.
Elite Jamaica. Don't forget to drop a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe.